Okay, so we've all been there, right? About to walk into a meeting, and you only have a few seconds to nail that first impression. But for a lot of us, introductions can be kind of awkward. I know I get nervous sometimes. You want to be confident and make a good impression, but how do you actually make people want to listen to what you have to say? Well, that's what we're diving deep into today, a podcast script all about meeting introductions. And it's not just the basic, hi, I'm so-and-so stuff. This script goes way deeper into, the psychology behind a powerful introduction. So let's jump right in.
You know what's interesting about introductions?
Yeah, what's that?
They're actually a form of what's called value signaling.
Value signaling. Okay, I'm intrigued, but explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, because honestly, sometimes I feel like I am 5 when I'm fumbling through an intro.
All right, so imagine you're at a networking event and someone walks up to you and says, "Hi, I'm John. I work in marketing."
Okay, John.
Right, gotta get nothing to go on there. Now imagine someone else says, "Hi, I'm Sarah, and I help businesses triple their online sales in under a year."
Okay, yeah, Sarah definitely has my attention. Like, sign me up.
See, that's the difference. Sarah signaled her value right off the bat. She highlighted how she can benefit you.
And you're already more interested in talking to her?
Even before she's really said anything else, you see her as someone who can solve your problems
Yeah.
or help you achieve your goals.
I get it. So it's not just about saying your name and job title. It's about framing yourself as someone who brings something to the table.
Exactly.
So how do we actually apply this to everyday meetings? The script we're looking at breaks it down into 3 key components.
Okay. Sounds good.
It seems pretty straightforward at first glance. Name and role, purpose, value, statement. But I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye. Right
Oh,
now.
definitely. There are some subtle nuances that can make a big difference.
Okay, so let's break it down, starting with the first component, name and role. Now, I wouldn't think there's much to overthink about saying your name,
Yeah.
but I'm ready to be surprised.
It's not just about what you say, but how you say it. Projecting confidence with your voice. Having a strong presence, even in just those first few words.
So, if you mumble your name or sound unsure of yourself,
It can undermine your credibility before you even start talking about your expertise.
I've definitely been guilty of that, especially when I'm in a room full of people I don't know.
It's a common mistake.
Yeah.
But the good news is, it's an easy fix with a little bit of practice.
Okay, good to know. So what about the second component, stating your purpose in the meeting? Sometimes I feel like that's obvious and I just skip over it. Isn't it clear why I'm there?
Well, here's the thing. Explicitly stating your purpose does a lot more than just convey information.
Okay, how so?
It actually sets the stage for your contribution and makes people curious about what you have to offer.
So instead of just being that guy for marketing,
Right.
you're giving people a reason to care about what you're going to say.
Like if you say something like, "I'm here to share some insights on the latest market trends."
Now you've got their attention.
You're piquing their interest.
Because they might be thinking, ooh, what insights does he have? This could be valuable to me.
Exactly.
So it's like a little mini cliffhanger.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just taking up space.
Yeah.
You're there to add value.
Okay, I like that. Now for the third component, and this is the part I'm most excited about, the value statement or fun fact.
Yeah.
I love the idea of showcasing what makes you unique. But how do we do that without sounding like we're bragging?
It's all about finding the right balance. You don't want to boast, but you also don't want to undersell yourself.
Right.
The key is to tie your value statement to the context of the meeting.
Okay, so it's not just a random fun fact. It should actually be relevant to the topic at hand.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the script gives a really good example. It suggests saying something like, "Hi, I'm David Lee, a senior software engineer at Tech Solutions. I specialize in cloud computing, and I'm here today to discuss our migration strategy. Fun fact, I've implemented similar strategies for 3 Fortune 500 companies, and I'm excited to collaborate with all of you."
Okay, wow, I'm already impressed by David. And I haven't even met him.
Right, that's the power of a well-crafted intro.
It's like he's hitting all the right notes.
He starts with his name and role, establishes his credibility right away.
And I love how he doesn't just say, I specialize in cloud computing. He connects it directly to the meeting's purpose. I'm here to discuss our migration strategy. That shows he's prepared and ready to contribute.
Right.
And then he drops that killer fun fact.
Yeah, working with Fortune 500 companies.
That definitely got my attention. It's subtle, but it signals his expertise.
It triggers what's known as the halo effect.
The halo effect.
Basically, when you present yourself as someone who's achieved impressive things, people tend to view you more positively in other areas as well.
Interesting.
They assume you're competent, intelligent, and trustworthy. even if they have no other evidence to support that belief.
So even a small detail like that can have a big impact on how people perceive you.
Absolutely.
I'm starting to see how powerful these introductions can be.
And that last little bit, excited to collaborate, is another subtle touch that makes a big difference.
Yeah, because it sets a positive and inclusive tone.
Right. He's not just there to dominate the conversation. He's there to work together as a team.
Okay, so we've got this amazing template for a killer introduction, but we also need to be adaptable, right? A casual team check-in is going to be different than presenting at a huge conference.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like having a toolbox.
Mm,
You wouldn't use a hammer for every job, would you?
definitely not. I'd probably break something.
Exactly. So when it comes to introductions, the key is to choose the right tool for the job.
So let's say you're in a virtual meeting where you don't have those in-person cues to rely on.
Right.
What kind of introduction would work best there?
In that case, you might want to highlight a skill that's particularly relevant to remote collaboration.
Like, give me some examples.
Sure, you could mention your proficiency in a specific project management tool
Mm-hmm.
that everyone in the meeting uses. Or you could talk about your ability to communicate effectively, asynchronously, which is crucial in a remote environment.
So it's about showcasing those strengths that make you valuable in a virtual setting.
Exactly.
Now, what about those giant conferences where you're just one face in a sea of people? I always feel a bit lost in those situations.
I understand those can be overwhelming. In those scenarios, your value statement needs to be even more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as your elevator pitch. You need to capture people's attention quickly and make them remember you.
Okay, so what kind of value statement would work in that setting?
Focus on your most unique achievement or insight, something that sets you apart from the crowd and makes people want to learn more.
So if I was, say, a graphic designer attending a design conference,
Yeah,
I might mention a recent award I won or a particularly innovative project I worked on.
exactly. Something that showcases your expertise and makes you stand out from all the other designers there.
Okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this. We're crafting these amazing introductions, we're adapting them to different situations, but let's talk about the common mistakes. I think we've all been there, right?
Oh yeah, we've all made those blunders.
Well, the script mentions a few pitfalls to avoid, and I have to admit some of them made me laugh because I've definitely been guilty of these in the past.
Let's dive into those mistakes
Yeah.
and unpack why they can be so harmful to your introduction.
All right, I'm ready. Hit me with it.
The first one is overloading with information.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely met that person who basically recites their entire resume.
Right, it's like they're trying to cram their whole life story into 30 seconds.
I once sat through a meeting where someone's introduction lasted a solid 5 minutes. I think I dozed off at one point.
It's a classic mistake. And while it might come from a good place, wanting to impress everyone with your experience and skills, it can actually have the opposite effect.
Because it's just too much information to process.
Exactly when you overwhelm people, their brains shut down. They tune you out, and they miss the key point you're trying to make.
Makes sense.
Plus, it makes you seem scattered and unfocused.
So less is more. Keep it concise and impactful.
Got it.
What's the next mistake?
Jargon.
Oh, man. I am so guilty of this. I get excited about a topic and I start throwing around all these technical terms without even realizing it.
It's easy to fall into that trap, especially in technical fields.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with using too much jargon.
Yeah.
It can alienate your audience and make you seem like you're trying to hide behind complex language.
It's like you're trying too hard to prove you're smart.
Right, but it ends up backfiring.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay, so avoid the jargon. What's next?
Apologizing.
Apologize right
This
there.
is a big one for people who are new to a role or a team. They might start their introduction with something like, I'm still learning, but, or I'm new here, so.
No, it breaks my heart a little because I know a lot of people do this out of nervousness or humility, but I can see how it would undermine your credibility.
Exactly. Even if you're new to the field or the organization, you were invited to the meeting for a reason. You bring something valuable to the table. So own your expertise, even if it's still developing.
That's a great point. Confidence is key. All right, what's the last mistake we should watch out for?
Lack of preparation.
Ah, yes, the classic winging it approach.
It can be tempting,
Ugh.
especially if you're in a rush or you think the meeting is going to be casual.
Yeah.
Trust me, taking a few minutes to plan your introduction
Mm.
can make a world of difference.
So even if it's just jotting down a few bullet points, it's worth taking the time to think about what you want to say and how you want to say it.
Absolutely failing to prepare signals a lack of respect for everyone's time. And it's much harder to project confidence and make a strong impression when you're scrambling to come up with something on the spot.
Okay, I'm convinced. Prep is key. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding why introductions matter, all the way to avoiding those common pitfalls that can trip us up. I feel like I've had so many aha moments listening to you break this down. What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to really walk away with?
It all comes down to this.
Okay.
Introductions are a golden opportunity to make a positive and memorable impression. And that impression can ripple out through the entire meeting and beyond.
And we've all experienced those introductions that leave you feeling like,
Right.
But by understanding the core components of a strong introduction,
And tailoring your approach to different situations and steering clear of those common mistakes,
Mhm.
you can turn those initial seconds into moments of genuine connection and influence.
I love that. And I think what's really clicked for me is how even small tweaks to our introductions can make a huge difference in how we're perceived and how people respond to us.
Absolutely. And here's a final thought-provoking question for our listeners to ponder. What's one thing you could add to your introduction that would make people lean in and want to hear more?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's a challenge to our listeners to think about their unique strengths and how they can showcase them in a way that's both authentic and captivating.
Because at the end of the day, the most effective introduction is one that genuinely reflects who you are and the value you bring to the table.
So ditch those canned speeches, tap into your genuine self, and get ready to make some amazing first impressions. That's it for our deep dive into the art of meeting introductions. We've unpacked the why, the how, and even the oh no, don't do that moments.
Yeah. We hope you've gained some valuable insights today and are feeling empowered to tackle those introductions with confidence and even a little bit of flair.
Remember, even small tweaks can make a huge difference. So go out there, practice your new intro, and watch those connections spark. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding why introductions matter, all the way to avoiding those common pitfalls that can trip us up. I feel like I've had so many aha moments listening to you break this down. What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to really walk away with?
It all comes down to this. Introductions are a golden opportunity to make a positive and memorable impression. And that impression can ripple out through the entire meeting and beyond.
And we've all experienced those introductions that leave you feeling like, meh.
Right.
But by understanding the core components of a strong introduction,
And tailoring your approach to different situations
yeah,
and steering clear of those common mistakes,
Mhm.
you can turn those initial seconds into moments of genuine connection
yeah.
and influence.
I love that. And I think what's really clicked for me is how even small tweaks to our introductions can make a huge difference in how we're perceived
Yeah,
and how people respond to us.
absolutely. And here's a final thought-provoking question for our listeners to ponder. What's one thing you could add to your introduction that would make people lean in and want to hear more?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's a challenge to our listeners to think about their unique strengths and how they can showcase them in a way that's both authentic and captivating.
Because at the end of the day, the most effective introduction is one that genuinely reflects who you are and the value you bring to the table.
So ditch those canned speeches. Tap into your genuine self and get ready to make some amazing first impressions. That's it for our deep dive into the art of meeting introductions. We've unpacked the why, the how, and even the oh no, don't do that moments.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights today and are feeling empowered to tackle those introductions
Yeah.
with confidence and even a little bit of flair.
Remember, even small tweaks can make a huge difference. So go out there, practice your new intro, and watch those connections spark.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding why introductions matter, all the way to avoiding those common pitfalls that can trip us up. I feel like I've had so many aha moments listening to you break this down. What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to really walk away with? I think it all comes down to this. Introductions are like a golden opportunity, a chance to make a positive and memorable first impression. And that impression can have a ripple effect throughout the entire meeting and beyond.
Yeah, we've all experienced the opposite, right? Those introductions that just fall flat.
Exactly.
But by understanding these core components,
And tailoring your approach
Mhm.
and avoiding those common mistakes, you can really transform those first few seconds into moments of real connection and influence.
I love that. I think what's really resonated with me is how even those small tweaks to our introductions can make a huge difference in how we're perceived and how people respond to us.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
it makes you think, What's one thing you could add to your own van introduction
Mm.
that would make people lean in and want to hear more?
Oh, that's a great question to ask yourself. It's like a challenge to our listeners to really think about their unique strengths
Mm.
and how to showcase them authentically.
Yeah, because the most effective introduction
Mm.
is one that genuinely reflects who you are
Mm.
and the value you bring.
So ditch the canned speeches, folks. Tap into your genuine self and get ready to make some amazing first impressions. That's it for our deep dive into the art of meeting introductions.
It's a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new today and are feeling ready to tackle those introductions with confidence and maybe even a little bit of flair.
And remember, even small tweaks can make a big difference.
So go out there and practice and watch those connections spark.